أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي من أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني ليفقهوا قولي. الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. صدق الله العظيم. That's the way you're supposed to read the Quran. It's the speech of God. Humans should be thankful that they have speech. This is how oblivious humans are to the great blessings that they've been given for free from their God. Just think about how much he had to put in to make you come into existence and exist in a fine state, in a likable state. That's a lot of work. Just think about how much humans just don't like to do work. And then think about that's an infinite number of work. Really, it's infinite. In the Quran, you can read about it. Allah says, if you count the number of things required for you to exist, you will never reach the end. That basically means, that's the definition of uncountable. Uncountable means the number is so large, it's impossible to count. That's a term in mathematics, in advanced mathematics. It's another word for infinity. But it's not really infinity, it's just uncountable. There's multiple reasons why it can be uncountable. But I'm not going to get into that. I said I didn't want to talk a lot about science, but I'm stuck in science forever. I'm forced to talk about it. But I connect it to God. I connect science to God, and that's easy to do if you're a Muslim and you understand Arabic and you read the Quran. The Quran, Dr. Zakir Naik, who talks a lot about Quran, Bible, Torah, everything, and all the different religions and how they're different, how they're alike, and all this stuff. And he basically said that the Quran is not a book of science. It's a book of signs. Like signs. Like here's a sign. So, I disagree with him on that. I do. But not in a bad way. I respect him and I think he's very smart and he does really good work. I disagree with him that he says the Quran is not a book of science. I believe the Quran is a book of signs and a book of science. But the science it talks about, humans did not know. It's just telling you stuff that you're going to figure out 1,000 years from now. Like there's a verse in the Quran that says that have not the unbelievers seen. I could read it in Arabic. أَلَمْ تَرَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا يَرَى أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ كَانُوا رِفْقَةً وَفَرَقْنَاهُمَا وَخَلَقْنَا كُلِّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ مِّن مَاءٍ. That verse in Quran, you can just simply call it the Big Bang verse. The Big Bang's written in the Quran. Whoever wants to debate that the Quran is not from God can only really say it's from some highly intelligent, extra-dimensional aliens. It's either this or that. So if you're a believer in God, you say it's God. God did it. And you can even see the evidence. You can find the evidence. I call myself the new name I've taken Imam Ghazali's name. And it's befitting that I took his name because I loved him so much. He's so smart. His nickname, everybody called him, it was Hujjat al-Islam. Hujjat al-Islam. I think my last video I called it Hujjat al-Islam. Hujjat al-Islam means proof of Islam. So that name was given by scholars. So there is proof of Islam and there is proof of God. If you want to find it, if you want to know it. So, what I really wanted to mention, I was just listening to a science talking show on National Public Radio, and I don't know why I'm forgetting his name, because I really don't like him as a scientist. He's what I call a person who desires to be a lifelong scientist, which I said is not really good in science. So I'm having a problem remembering his name right now. I can't believe that. I've known him for so long. It's subconscious. It's because of the prayer I made. God himself is making me forget his name. I have never forgot his name in like 30, 40, 50 years. Never. Right now, I can't remember his name. And probably that's the prayers I make. And probably God just doesn't want me to say it because I have a lot of bad things to say about him. And God just doesn't want me to say bad things about other people. That's what I think. I think it's so funny that I can't remember his name. It's just, that's the way I understand my God. He doesn't want me to say bad things about people. He made me forget his name so I couldn't say bad things about him. Because he knows that I want to do what's right. But sometimes you don't know what's right. So I could have just said a bunch of bad things about him. And then 10 years from now, I could be like, oh man, why did I ever talk like that? I'm such a retard. I'm so bad. I'll think that like 20 years from now. So God just saved me. These are the kind of visions I see from God. And Islam is a science book. So I can tell you some science. Talk about some science right now. And then I can tell you which verse of Quran is talking about that science. I can talk about, like my last video I talked about a verse in the last part of the Quran. It goes, إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُوِّرَتْ وَإِذَا النُّجُومُ انْقَدَرَتْ. And I said that's a miracle because it says when the sun rounds up and when stars die. So the miracle I forgot to mention is that the Quran is telling you the sun is a star. That's a miracle. That's a scientific miracle. Like, humans have not figured out what stars are till like 300, 400 years ago. They didn't know what stars were. They didn't know the sun is the same as those dots in the sky. They didn't know that. They didn't have telescopes. They didn't have any way to like check it really. So it was after the invention of the telescope that they were able to figure out, wait, the sun and the stars are the same thing. Because when you zoom in on the star, you can tell that it's a sun. You can see the shapes of it, the light of it, everything. What it's made out of. You can tell this is made out of these chemicals and these dots are made out of these chemicals. They're the same thing. So I was listening to the talk about science and they were talking about wormholes, like how do we travel through space? Do we need wormholes? And then now I just remembered his name, Neil deGrasse Tyson. But anyway, I won't say a bad thing about him. The main bad thing I was going to say about him is I believe he is somebody who desired to be a lifelong scientist. And then I talked in my last video about how people who desire to be lifelong scientists are not good for science. So that's the best way I can say what I don't like about him without insulting him. I don't want to insult people. Because also if you insult people, you just make a lot of enemies for no reason. It's better not to insult people. God made me remember the name again because he figured out, he didn't want me to insult somebody, and I figured it out. So then he said, okay, now you get to know the name. I've always known that name for 50 years. Neil deGrasse Tyson. I don't dislike him. I don't have bad things to say about him personally. I'm just what I just said. So anyway, they were talking about wormholes. They were talking about how are we going to travel through space, and do we need a wormhole to travel anywhere in space? And then he said, yes, I disagree. But wormholes do help you get to space, and there are certain places you need wormholes. And then if you want to go to a different universe, you have to travel through a wormhole, because the wormhole can exit you out in a different universe. But the problem is that as soon as you enter the new universe, you might just fall apart. Like your atoms aren't compatible with that fractal structure of that universe. So you have a fractal structure from this universe. You go to that universe, it's a different fractal structure, and then as soon as you enter, you just fall apart and die. That's what I think. That's my own theories based on practical gear field theory. And then I say wormholes are real. They are real. And I want to tell you something else. I'm going to tell you in a sec. Hopefully I don't forget. Wormholes are real. But I'll tell you right now. I foretold that there's an alien population 1,000 light years away. And they are human descendants from the past. The ancient past. Possibly mixed with alien beings. So half human, half alien. And then NASA went and checked it, and they found it. And I told them it was a purple planet. And then I told them it was 1,000 light years away. Which, that's the key. You need the 1,000 light years away. That's the only way to find something in space. If you tell anybody anything in space, where it is, how to find it, the number one thing you need to really tell them is, how many light years away is it from Earth? And then if you talk about relativity, you got to talk about the relative time frames. Are you moving when you measure this or not? And how fast are you moving? Because that changes time. The more I talk about this stuff, the more I realize how big a nerd I am. I'm like, I shouldn't try to befriend people. I'm such a huge nerd. I know too much. I shouldn't say I know too much. I don't know if that's actually a true statement. I don't know if anybody can know too much. That's what I mean. I don't know if it's possible for a person to know too much. Oh God. So NASA checked at the purple planet. They checked the light. You can check the light of anything in space, and you can know what chemicals are there. 100% almost. Any distance in space. You can look at the light and know exactly what chemicals are there. Because every chemical has a certain frequency. And every frequency has a certain color of light. So you see certain frequencies, certain colors, you know what chemicals that are there. So they checked for organic chemical. And I tell people all the time, they were actually just trying to prove that I'm totally wrong, I'm a complete idiot. They said, let's just go look over there, find the purple planet 1,000 light years away. I bet you there's no life there. I bet you there ain't nothing there. I bet you he's just an idiot. I bet you angels didn't tell him nothing, because he claims angels told him it was there, and angels showed it to him. They went and checked 1,000 light years away, and they proved angels are real. Angels do talk to me, because they proved that the chemical is there. The chemical that only living beings create, like living beings like us, like humans, cows, goats, insects, whatever. There's a chemical that we produce that only we produce. So it's not naturally produced anywhere in the universe. They checked the whole universe. They looked at everything. They know that chemical is not anywhere. You can create AI to check for that chemical and not find it anywhere. But they went and checked the purple planet that I told them about.